Despite a decade of development, blockchains still struggle with performance issues and user adoption. Now, these gentlemen I have here on stage will change that. This panel is about pioneering the next wave of blockchain evolution. I'm Marcel Blum, Research Director at The Block, and before we dive into this discussion, I would like to introduce my panelists and share a fun fact about each one of them. Now, first of all, we have Avery Ching, who is the co-founder and CTO at Aptos, a layer 1 blockchain. And the fun fact I learned about Avery is that he interned at 3 of the 12 national labs that do supercomputing during his PhD. So that's super impressive. Great to have you on stage. Next, we have Alvin Ken, who is the COO at BitGet Wallet, which is a crypto wallet provider. And the fun fact I learned about him is that he used to be the lion head in a lion dance troupe. So very impressive as well. Next, we have Kobe Zhang, who is the COO at Zen, a Web3 development suite. And the fun fact I learned about Kobe is that his parents don't want him to sleep with his son. Because they doubt both are safe with each other, Kobe often gets punches when his son has vivid dreams. And so I can very well connect with that. The same happens to me when my son sleeps next to me. Great to have you on the panel, Kobe. And then we have Sungmo Park, who is the Asia-Pacific lead at Monad, a layer 1 blockchain. And the fun fact that I would like to share with you about Sungmo is that he is the co-founder of Terra Luna's #1 NFT marketplace called One Planet. So we have a real survivor also with us on stage. Great to have you all here. And so now during the next 40 minutes, we will discuss the continuous evolution of public blockchains. We will have a look at interoperability, security, user and developer engagement, and we will also take a look into the future. So let's start with some broad overview on our panelists' companies and projects with my first question. So blockchain technology has come a long way since the inception of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Could each of you briefly share how your platforms are contributing to the evolution of public blockchains? Let's start with you, Avery.
Thank you for that introductions. So a bit of background about me. I worked at Meta for 10 years, and during that time I was very fortunate to be one of the early engineers on what was called Libra and Diem. So many of you are familiar with the payments platform that Meta was building to support billions of people around the world sending remittances 24/7 and being able to support a large consortium of companies to do that. In order to do this, we had to build a new language called Move. We developed a new blockchain technology that would support those billions. And ultimately, we did not launch. But I think many of us were fascinated with that dream. The dream of that we could build a public decentralized utility for everyone that could be easy to use, be as interoperable as the internet itself. And so when we left in late 2021 with my co-founder Mo to start this company, a lot of folks from that team came and ultimately joined us. I think more than 30 people joined us from that project over time. And so a lot of that mission remains, but it's even broader now. We believe that there's a need for a decentralized public utility that everyone can use, that everyone can transact on, and is something that is not biased toward anyone in the world. And that's what we're building on Aptos. And we believe it can be done as a layer 1. I think we heard from the earlier panelists on the monolithic side, the modular side, talking about how different components can be put together to do it. And I think we have very similar goals, but in spirit, we believe this approach of starting from first principles. How do we think about safe development? How do we think about solving those core problems of an L1 where you have contented transactions? How do you support the scalability of the transactions across many different workloads, financial, mixed with DeFi markets, mixed with NFT marketplaces and loyalty programs, all at the same time without having to block or slow down the transactions or even see rising gas fees across the world. And so our goal is to support all these use cases, to support all 5 billion internet users in a single network that scales out with respect to the needs of that network and the customer base. And that's kind of how we're proceeding with that. So that's our direction. Thanks.
Thanks, Avery. Alvin, can you go next?
Sure. So Big Ed Wallet is a non-custodial wallet. We have over 20 million users. And being a wallet, we're often the very first gateway, right, to how users interact with blockchain. So we're very, very sensitive to what users actually want. And it has gone through so many different evolution of trends, right? I mean, you had DeFi summer in the past, and then people started looking at yield-bearing assets, and then there was GameFi, and now people are into airdrop farmings and stuff. So we do see trends almost changing every 3 to 6 months. It is very taxing in terms of technological implementations, integrations, and so on. But we do see this kind of fast-changing nature happening again and again in the crypto sector, right? So we will continue to follow up on all these trends, and there will be later innovations that will come in place, right? For example, real-world assets. I don't think real-world assets is something where you can just do with the existing infra. There will be new token standards that will come up, right? And so we will continue to support this. And the other thing that's really evolving over the past few years is users expect things to get really, really simple, right? We talk about account abstraction, but we also talk about options, right? So for example, users are saying, all right, I want to be able to have multi-sig kind of capabilities when a certain threshold or transfer goes above a certain amount. And how are we able to introduce these features, but in a very simple way, rather than telling them that, hey, you have to go through these 5 hoops. So I think these are the 2 trends, right? One is how do people chase after different profit-related kind of opportunities, and we have to get on those fast. And the other one is how do we introduce more options, but in a very simple manner. And this will go on and on.
Thanks, Alvin. Kobe, you want to take next?
Yeah. So basically, Chains is a technology brand from the Ant Group Digital Technologies. So basically, we have 2 brands. Which brings the uniqueness of ourselves. The first one is we have 1 billion users in China mainland for the payment, for the financial service, and also another 1 billion users in the ACPC areas out of China, but it's in the Web 2 world. But we have a lot of experience how to serve them well in the Web 2 world. And on the other hand, we are actually the #1 market share in China mainland in terms of the blockchain service. It's a permission blockchain service, but actually it's try to consolidate all the companies, industries, supply chain together. How do they cooperate with each other? So the things that we want to bring to the public chain world, ever since last year we found the technology brand which is Chains for the Web3 service. So basically we want to bring these 2 uniqueness to this world. So first is how to build a scale application and focus on the users. So we can provide a lot of technology service which is very similar to now you want to make a startup, you use AWS and Alibaba Cloud. So a lot of things are already there. So we provide such kind of service to help you to build Web3 specific applications with the very fundamental technologies, but very solid. On the other hand, so we want to bring, as you just mentioned, so we want to bring a lot of real-world assets that we have already built in the permissioned blockchain world with connecting with all the industries. So we think that the financial rotation without substance will actually bring a lot of risk. And actually, it's not the end of the vision that we can imagine for the Web3 world. So we think the real-world assets that we can bring to the Web3 world will bring a lot of opportunities in the future.
Thanks, Kobe. And yeah, Sungmo, can you let us know how Monad contributes to the evolution of blockchains?
Yes, thank you. So Monad is EVM compatible layer 1 chain, and what we're trying to do is we want to parallelize the EVM. So what we believe is there are 2 parts for the mass adoption. So first part is to the end user, and the second part is to the developers. And to focus on the developer side for this question, we thought, and we still think that in the Ethereum space, there are a lot of very good developers, and they are using this language called Solidity. And we want to make that Solidity language and that environment very scalable, because at this moment there are many EVM chains and even Ethereum. They have a very low throughput and very low speed and high cost and everything. So we wanted to let the market think of our blockchain as a Solana plus Ethereum, which is very scalable in terms of speed and low cost, so that we are telling the market that we can achieve 10K transaction per second, which translate into 1 billion gas a day. So when you think about 1 billion gas a day, it's equivalent to Web2 DApp, which has 10 million MAU, which is not that crazy. So we want to provide a specific infrastructure where developers can actually use with Solidity when the day comes for the mass adoption where 10 million MAU can actually happen in the Web3 space as well. So we want to achieve that goal through many different ways, but simple concepts can be asynchronous execution or parallelized execution, but I'm not going to go too deep inside of it. But what we have been uniquely trying to be happening in our blockchain technology is we wanted to build a brand new database, which is called MonadDB, because in the Ethereum scene, there are many different ways to store the data. But the throughput at the bottleneck of the low speed is because of the way that we extract data from the database. So we want to make the best use out of the SSD, which is very high I/O throughput. So we want to utilize that very well, and the only way that we thought it could be realized was by reconstructing a new way of extracting data, which is MonadDB. So there are many ways that we could discuss about this, but these are the high level that we are trying to achieve mass adoption for the developers in the high level.
All right, thanks, Sangmo. So this provides a very good segue to the follow-up questions I had prepared. And so the first one I would like to add is for Avery and you on scalability. So you touched already a little bit on that, and probably you can add a little bit, not too much going into technical details, of course. So scalability has been a major challenge for public blockchains. And so my question to you two is, what technological advancements are you implementing to scale your platform? And Avery, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think to reach those billions of users that Facebook was onboarding, or the 5 billion internet users today, new technology needs to be built. And so I think the two words I want you to take away from this is what we call dynamic parallelism. And we think about our history of what we've kind of done in the blockchain space. There have been kind of sequential platforms like traditional EVM that just process one transaction at a time. You have platforms like Solana, which we call statically parallel, which kind of declare dependencies up front and then process as much as they can do in parallel. And then what we call dynamic parallelism in Aptos, which is kind of what we feel the next phase of innovation in this space. And the idea in dynamic parallelism is that you kind of have this pipeline infrastructure with what we call block STM, where we can kind of at runtime determine as much parallelism as possible. We maximize concurrency to support as many different kinds of transactions happening at the same time, and even find ways to go around the problem of contended transactions, which consistently block existing technologies today. In terms of proof points, the other thing is that the industry is, unfortunately, very much focused on marketing numbers and not so much on what the trains can actually do. We've taken a very different approach at Aptos to produce what we call verifiable or reproducible benchmarks, both at scale and at latency. So if you kind of go and Google what Aptos is doing in that space, you can find our real-time latency dashboard, where we show the latency of every, we call it a bunch of major chains, and how Aptos is basically sub-second and also the fastest for kind of the end-to-end user experience. The other thing we've done is actually kind of run a public mainnet experiment, where we showed with the next version of our software, we could do more than 2 billion transactions in a single day. That's more than 25,000 transactions per second, 13 times what Visa can do, about 150 million transactions a day. And the other data point I do want to share also is that in terms of mainnets, I think Artemis is the one that reported. Recently, we had an interesting ecosystem project called Tapus, which launched a game on Aptos, which supported 154 million transactions in a day, which I think more than 2x the previous record set by Solana. So we definitely see that scale is something that is not only necessary that we're building towards, but lots of proof points along the way to support that thesis that we can actually push that infrastructure further. We can get beyond kind of what is existing and even get to 100,000, 1 million transactions per second at around sub-second latencies. And I think when those things happen, you'll see not only many more people being able to onboard to technology, but also new use cases that weren't possible. Streaming payments, micropayments, things that were cost prohibitive in the past, but with Aptom's current cost of something like 0.00006 cents per transaction, it's pretty much de minimis at that point to do anything on the network.
Thanks, Avery. Sungmo, do you want to add to the points you mentioned on performance and scalability?
Yeah, sure. So there are three concepts to be very brief to understand what Monad is doing. So first one is, just like I said, asynchronous execution. The second thing is a parallelized execution. And third is parallel state access, which is MonadDB. So to give you a very simplified idea of what asynchronous execution is, most of the blockchains are linearly ordered, and so like when the consensus and execution is finished, and then next the transaction is done. But what we are actually trying to do is, let's think of it as a laundry. So like if you do a laundry, you need to put in your laundry and then let them do the washing and then dryer, and then you take it off and you fold it. But like when you do it, we can think of it as there are multiple washing machines there. So when you put in the laundry and do the washing, and then you let that laundry go into dryer, and then you can at the same time start the washing again, so that you can parallelly do the transaction altogether. So that's the basic idea of what asynchronous execution is. So that's just like what Avery just mentioned. It's like a pipeline of transaction. And the second thing is about parallelized execution. So we are parallelizing all those executions. So simply put, you just go through all the transaction and you generate pending results. And at the same time, when you make a pending result at the same time, you just go through orderly and see which one is right or wrong in terms of the state. So if you find some state that is not equivalent to current state, you just re-execute it. So most of the transactions are re-executed at most twice. So this is the basic idea of what parallel execution is. And third one is, in order for you to get the state access as efficiently as possible, in the Ethereum space, most of the database they use PebbleDB and not very efficient database because they are stored in the form of Patricia Merkle tree. But what we have designed through our MonadDB is you can directly access a specific data point without having to go through all the Patricia Merkle tree. So that could be an idea of three concepts that we are trying to develop.
Thanks, Sungmo. So let me move on to the next question, which is on interoperability. Interoperability between different blockchains is crucial for a cohesive ecosystem. Now, how is your project addressing interoperability issues, and what benefits does this bring to users and developers? Let's start with you, Kobe.
Yeah, so basically when we built all the permission blockchains in China, actually we found this issue being there's a strong demand about the cross-chain service. And it's very different from what we saw from the public blockchain. And then we found that when we try to move the data across the permission blockchain and the public blockchain, that would be very different because a lot of traditional companies, so basically they don't want to have tokens to pay the gas fee, whatever. So we actually have a decentralized solution, or open source solution with on-chain bridge, which follows the IEEE standard, which is more familiar for the traditional companies. But actually, they can form a union to cross-validate all the information to go through between permission blockchain and also across between the permission blockchain to the public blockchains. So in that case, actually, it's actually ensure the trustworthy of this kind of data, but also being more compatible with what they are familiar with.
Thanks, Kobe. Avery, you want to take a step at interoperability?
Oh, definitely. So I think it's really interesting to think about interoperability from Move, right? Move is a new language. It's something that is being developed that we're continuing to push forward with. And I think we think about interoperability in a couple different ways. So one, we've got great partners like Layer 0, Wormhole, and others that provide access to Move. I think we're the first non-EVM for both of those. And we're excited to see what they've done with the message passing protocols and being able to interface with different networks through those bridges. The other thing that we've been doing also is to kind of build up a bigger Move ecosystem. And so I think a couple stages ago you heard from the Movement folks, but there are many other teams that are using what we've been developing with Move, including Roosh, Pontum, Inisha, and others. And finding a way to leverage the work that we've done across these different networks is something that we also think is really important. The third angle is beyond just having bridges and cross-chain messaging protocols, being able to work with those protocol founders very deeply, so including things like Aave, which is coming to Aptos. Aave v3 protocol is, I think, the most used liquidity protocol on Ethereum. Being able to access those assets for users between different networks, including Aptos, is important. And a big partner of Aave is called Chainlink, is an oracle that provides access to many different kind of price feeds and other sources of data coming to Aptos. And so that thought about kind of the app layer, the infrastructure messaging layer, and then even the lower level like virtual machine and language layer, I think we're pushing all fronts to make sure that everyone has access to Aptos technology.
Thanks. And Songmo.
Yes, I do think the interoperability is really important, and that's why we are focusing on delivering what we have been planning for a very long time. So Monad has been developing our blockchain for 2.5 years already, and we are we are launching our testnet in 2 months, and we are really excited for it. But the whole reason that we are building this infrastructure is to have a mass adoption at the end of the day. And in order for us to have true mass adoption, we should not have all the users fragmented to all different tech stack and different blockchains. So probably current state, most of the people are very loyal to a specific ecosystem. For example, Solana people are very, very loyal to Solana, and probably Base people are very loyal to Base, and same goes for Aptos and every other blockchain. But what we want to do is, at the end of the day, when actual interoperability can be achieved and when there is a true mass adoption, I do believe there should be less boundaries compared to all the different blockchains. So in order for that to happen, I think just like what Avery said, we need really good support from all the infrastructures, like Chainlink or other Layer 0 or Wormhole. That's why exactly Monad is already collaborating with the Wormhole and Layer 0 at the same time. But in the future also, there could be a very interesting cooperation point with the other DA layers and at all the same time, because all the layer 1s would consider having a layer 2 at the same time. So even if they are a monolithic chain, there will be a time where we are considering to build an L2 to have even more mass adoption for the blockchain. Yeah.
Thanks, Songmo. So we are coming closer to the end of the panel. So let me ask each one of you a double question, and you can choose the one you want to pick out of it, and be mindful that we have about 1 minute for each one to stay in time. So the first part of my double question is on user and developer engagement. Engaging users and developers is vital for the success of any blockchain project. And please let me know, how do you attract and support developers and end users? And the add-on question to this would be that I would like to end up with an outlook into the future. Where do you see the trends that will be shaping the next 5 years in the blockchain industry? Let's start with you, Alvin, on these 2 points.
Sure. I'll talk about user and developer engagement. So I think developers want users, right? And maybe TVL, but mainly users. And what users want, based on our feedback sessions and so on, is really 2 things, at least at this moment. So one is they want to have some kind of a wealth effect, right? They're able to earn something, whether it's through trading meme coins, whether it's through earning airdrops and stuff, right? And the other one is to be able to access all these new and latest opportunities, right? Very simply in the wallet itself. So what we do is we actually developed a questing system directly within the wallet because we realized that people want these opportunities, but when you tell them to go through 3 different sites and go through all these hoops, they won't do it. And we developed this questing system where you're able to do it, everything in the app itself, right, within 2 to 3 minutes, but still interacting with the chain, and very easily get these rewards from the different providers, which are projects. I do think Web3 is a very unique situation in here, where you have a lot of projects that are garnering attention, right, from users. And the tool that they have is actually tokens. So we try to aggregate a lot of these opportunities back to the users in a very familiar environment. So that's one, right? The other one is whenever there is like new and latest opportunities, and I think, for example, right now, Ton is pretty big, and people say, all right, I've been using other chains, I want to interact with this as well. So what can we do about it? And what we do is, we started having like a big campaign page, right? Telling them about these are all the things you can do in the ecosystem. We even have kind of like a, can't remember what you call it, like some kind of whether it's a lucky draw or earning point systems from the campaigns, make it very easy but fun, right, for them to learn about new ecosystems, and that's what we want to do.
Thanks, Alvin. Kobe?
Yeah, so I think I want to talk a little about the future outlook. So I think there are two things that we can imagine for the future. So one is how the Web3 world to cooperate with the existing Web2 world. So we actually start jumping the architecture member for from the HKMA's project ensemble, which is to build the new infrastructure for the tokenized money and the assets in Hong Kong. So there are a lot of commercial banks, investment banks that actually join this effort. So that they actually serve the customer locally, offline, and they help them to bring into the blockchain and then to do all the transactions and the new activities here. So that's something we want to we expect there will be a lot of change in the future. The second point, I think, is about the transparency and the real-world assets that we want to invest in the future. So everything like you walk into this kind of beautiful hotel, want to invest everything. It's like in the Web2 world, it actually you can consume all the content that's generated by the internet. But in the Web3 world or in the future, real-world asset world, actually you can invest in anything that's been physically located anywhere in the world. So basically through the technology that's powered by the blockchain and Web3 world.
Thanks, Kobe. And so Sungmo and Avery, I would ask you to be relatively brief. I was only given 1 more minute by my instructor, but please let us know.
Okay, so about like user acquisition and developer engagement. So Monad Labs is quite known for a very, very good community members. So we have a lot of core community members all across the global, and it's very impressive personally, even given that Monad is even before the testnet phase. So what we're trying to do is we want to develop a community country by country, and we try to engage them as much as possible in the online first. And then we can identify core community leaders in each region. And we have those community leaders act as a country representative at the first time. And then we are putting a lot of our resources into hosting an offline event where they can actually become a friend. So no business, no technical talk. It's just like hanging out and party with those community friends. So when you trade a meme coin or NFT, so like you want to like talk about to your like close friend, but like if you don't have a Web3 friend, you just cannot do it. So what we're trying to do is we want to give a place where they can become a friend at the same time. So those core friends become actually our core community, and even after our mainnet launching, we don't want them to be a selling pressure to our token price and everything, and they can actually keep adding value to our existing ecosystem projects and future endeavors. Yeah, that's the user engagement.
Thanks, Somo. And my hope is you end with a very brief but positive outlook
super
to
brief.
the future.
I'll really trim my time. So on developers, I'll just say we have the largest Move community out there, and the Aptos Foundation does a fantastic job of getting folks from ideation to production as smoothly and safely as possible. With respect to future outlook, our job is to accelerate the new economy. I think what Kobe said really resonates with us. We see a lot of trends like money movement as being an important thing, financial tools and assets being accessible by everyone, and at low cost being very important. And we're going to be driving very hard in those areas going forward.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for having participated, and thanks to my panelists for a very stimulating discussion. And everyone have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel, and